Star Wars wouldn't be Star Wars without morally bankrupt criminal organizations. Many of the most powerful crime syndicates in the galaxy were nearly as strong as galactic governments, with the most notable of these being the Hutt cartel, which directly ruled over a large swath of the Outer Rim. But the Hutts weren't without their rivals. Obviously, they faced opposition from more legitimate governments, but they had enemies in the criminal underworld too. The biggest thorn in their side was a crime syndicate that you might not have heard of, the Exchange. In this video, we'll be telling the story of those dastardly gangsters and why the Hutts feared them.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Exchange came into being in the years before the Great Sith War, likely somewhere between 5000 and 4000 BBY. Its origins are shrouded in mystery, but what is known is that the syndicate grew powerful by riding the wave of Republic expansion in the Outer Rim, setting up shop on new colonies and turning them into profitable shadow ports. The Exchange began as a smugglers guild, hence the name, but it expanded rapidly into a general-purpose criminal syndicate involving itself in anything profitable. Alongside smuggling, it became a power player in spice refinement, weapons trafficking, the slave trade, bounty hunting, and good old-fashioned extortion. Unlike some crime syndicates, the Exchange was pretty decentralized. It had a leader called the Compeer, but many of the Exchange's bosses operated independently, becoming extremely powerful in their own right. Each local cell of the Exchange was run by a single boss who had complete authority over Exchange operations on the planet. The bosses reported to sector chiefs who reported to the Compeer, who occasionally passed orders back to the bosses through the chiefs. The upper command structure of the Exchange was very secretive. Not even the bosses knew who the Compeer or the sector chiefs were, since they communicated exclusively through encrypted channels. Instead of running cells of their own, the chiefs of the Compeer led normal lives, their true identities known only to each other. By the time the Great Sith War broke out 3,996 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Exchange had become one of the most powerful crime syndicates in the galaxy, with cells on many worlds. Most of these cells disguise themselves as legitimate businesses. For example, the Exchange cell on Telos 4 officially operated as Bumani Exchange Corporation. Evidently, subtlety wasn't a strong suit of the Exchange bosses. The outbreak of the Great Sith War threw large swaths of the Outer Rim into chaos, allowing the Exchange to sink its claws into even more worlds. The outbreak of the Mandalorian Wars 20 years later and the Jedi Civil War after that meant the Exchange continued to rapidly rise to the top. Before long, it was powerful enough to rival the Hutt cartel itself, becoming the second largest criminal syndicate in the galaxy. As the Republic began to deteriorate, the Exchange became the de facto government on many worlds. One such world was Taris, a city planet near Mandalorian space. The Exchange had been a power player on Taris for centuries before the old Sith Wars, but after the Mandalorians conquered the planet, it pretty much took over the whole world. Near the end of the Mandalorian Wars, the Mandalorians were driven from Taris and Republic control was nominally restored, but the Republic was severely weakened by that point, and everyone on Taris knew that the Exchange was really running the show. When the Republic was driven off Taris by the Sith during the Jedi Civil War, the Sith made a truce with the Exchange, with the two parties promising to stay out of each other's way. During the Mandalorian Wars and Jedi Civil War, the Exchange cell on Taris was run by Davik Kang. Davik was the foremost boss in the Exchange at the time, and his cell on Taris was extremely powerful. On Taris, Davik's agents held powerful positions in the planetary government, and everyone from lower city swoop gangs to upper city business owners had to pay the Exchange hefty protection fees. Davik had a small army of bounty hunters at his beck and call, ready to smash the kneecaps of anyone who got on the crime boss's bad side. Those on Taris who ended up indebted to Davik often wound up dead or enslaved. Davik also ran extensive interplanetary smuggling operations, running spice and guns to systems all over the Outer Rim. His flagship, a dynamic class freighter called the Ebon Hawk, was one of the fastest ships in the galaxy, capable of running any blockade. All of this made Davik very wealthy. He used his wealth to build a massive palace in Taurus's upper city, complete with a spice lab, a slave brothel, a starship hangar, and a throne room. Davik's compound was virtually impregnable, and he himself rarely left it, sending out enforcers to do his dirty work. During the Jedi Civil War, his top men were the Mandalorian mercenary Canderous Ordo and Calo Nord, the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. Davik had a vice grip on the criminal underworld in the northern outer rim, edging all of his competition, the Hutts included, out of the region entirely. However, Davik's empire ultimately didn't last. When Taurus was conquered by the Sith near the end of the Jedi Civil War, they imposed a quarantine on the planet, forbidding travelers from leaving the planet until they captured Bastila Shan, a Jedi Knight they were hunting. This stifled Davik's smuggling operation, and as the weeks dragged on, the exchange on Taurus began to lose money. Unwilling to sit around while his empire crumbled around him, Davik and Canderous Ordo developed a plan to flee Taurus, intending to steal codes from the Sith military base that would allow them to pass the Sith blockade in the Ebon Hawk. Unfortunately for Davik, he had made the poor decision of cutting Canderous's pay when the quarantine hit, and so Canderous made some slight alterations to the plan. He contacted Bastila Shan, the amnesiac Revan, and their companions, promising them passage off Taurus if they allied with him. Revan, Bastila, and their companions managed to steal the departure codes from the Sith, and Canderous helped them infiltrate Davik's estate and steal the Ebon Hawk. They killed Davik and took his ship, escaping Taurus just as the Sith began an orbital bombardment of the planet. The destruction of Taurus completely destroyed Davik's exchange cell, which threw the whole syndicate into chaos. Even though Davik was just a local boss, he was powerful enough that his death effectively decapitated the exchange for a time. Many other crime syndicates, believing that the exchange would collapse thanks to the destruction of Taurus, began moving in on Davik's former territory. However, they were premature. Davik's death was only a setback for the exchange. It rebounded quickly, and soon enough, it became more powerful than ever before. Revan, Bastila, and the new crew of the Ebon Hawk ended up helping the Republic win the Jedi Civil War, vanquishing the Sith Empire and bringing peace to the galaxy for a time. But even with all the existential threats seemingly defeated, the Republic was still in shambles. It had suffered grievous losses in two massive back-to-back wars, and it simply didn't have the money or power left to put the galaxy back together. Just a few short years after the end of the Jedi Civil War, the Republic yet again found itself on the brink of collapse. This time, however, this wasn't due to any external threat. Rather, the Republic had become unable to support itself. This crisis led to the Republic all but abandoning the Rim, and yet again, it was the exchange that swept in to pick up the pieces. It took advantage of the crisis with ruthless efficiency, guided by a mysterious new crime boss named Goto. Goto was the boss of the Nar Shaddaa cell, which had replaced the Taurus cell as the most powerful faction in the exchange. An extremely cautious man, nobody ever saw Goto in person. He preferred to communicate exclusively through holograms. Goto managed his operations from a yacht, the Visionary, which used a cloaking device to operate undetected in the busy space lanes above Nar Shaddaa. The yacht was exclusively run by droids, and very few organics were ever allowed onto it. Goto was a criminal mastermind, able to predict and orchestrate events on a galactic scale. In just a few short years, he took over the economies of entire sectors, having anyone who he saw as a threat assassinated or captured. Many other exchange bosses, including Visquis and Sakesh on Nar Shaddaa and Lopak Slusk on Telos 4, took orders from Goto, though he was technically their equal within the exchange. Under his direction, they began openly competing with other crime syndicates, most notably the Hutts. Nar Shaddaa, where Goto was based, was the moon of Nal Hutta, the Hutt homeworld. Goto took advantage of his proximity to the Hutt's adopted homeworld to prey on their own criminal operations, capturing Hutt freighters and stealing their cargo. The Visionary alone captured trillions of credits of illegal goods from the Hutts, which the exchange then sold to their own buyers. In this manner, the exchange began rapidly edging the Hutts out of illegal markets, within their own sovereign territory, driving Hutt leaders to great lengths of frustration. Based on Nar Shaddaa, Vogga was one of Goto's favorite victims, and he became so outraged over losing money to the exchange that he put a bounty on Goto's head. This was an exercise in futility, however, as none of Vogga's agents seemed to be able to locate the mysterious exchange boss. Goto's operations made him absurdly wealthy, and he used his huge fortune to place bounties on any surviving Jedi and Sith. By 3951 BBY, it was believed that only one Jedi was left in the galaxy, Meetra Surik, the Jedi Exile. Goto put a price on her head so large that one could buy an entire planet with it. Unfortunately for the exchange, this earned them the attention of Surik and her allies. After battling the exchange on Telos, they traveled to Nar Shaddaa to begin interfering in exchange operations, hoping to attract Goto's attention. They were successful, and Surik managed to get herself a hologram audience with Goto aboard his yacht. There, Goto revealed his reasoning for his work with the exchange to Surik. He was trying to stabilize the falling Republic. His criminal operations were designed to bolster planetary economies to allow the Republic to recover, and he had placed a bounty for her capture in the hope that she could help him. Surik and her allies initially rebuffed Goto and helped the Hutts destroy his yacht, but they later made an alliance with one of Goto's droids, G0T0, who he sent to travel with them as they tried to stabilize the Republic in their own way. This droid, Surik later learned, was actually Goto himself. The crime lord had actually been a rogue infrastructure droid the whole time, programmed by the Republic to stabilize the galaxy. Through the clever use of holograms, the droid had constructed a persona of an elusive crime lord for its purposes and taken over the exchange. After G0T0 left Nar Shaddaa with Meetra Surik, his branch of the exchange declined. The Hutts, seeking payback, began to take over exchange operations all over the galaxy. The exchange fought back, of course, and the two cartels kept up their fight for hundreds of years. During the wars with the reconstituted Sith Empire in the 3600s BBY, the Hutts finally managed to get a leg up over the exchange, driving them from Nar Shaddaa. Around the same time, the Sith began cracking down on exchange activities, further weakening the Syndicate. The exchange never recovered, and by the time of the new Sith Wars, it had fizzled out. Its spot on the galactic underworld was taken by Black Sun. For a time, the exchange was able to rival even the Hutt cartel, but you can't out-criminal the Hutts, it seems. But what do you think? Would you like to see more about Davik or G0T0? Free to post your thoughts in the comment section below.